Welcome to another PIHRA webinar. My name is Stacy Gordon, and I'm the Director of Education here at PIHRA. Today, Bob Foose will be talking about ways to positively reduce conflict in the workplace. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's presenter. Bob Foose is a client partner with New Leaf Training and Development. He holds a master's in leadership and a bachelor's in communication. He's a certified and experienced facilitator using the strengths-based leadership, strengths deployment inventory, and the Myers-Briggs type indicator, behavioral assessment. Bob has over 26 years of experience in leadership development, most notably with one of the world's largest nonprofit organizations. As an interesting, by the way, Bob also works as a voice actor for Disney. He's been married for 23 years, and him and his wife live in Orange. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you so much, Stacy. I really appreciate that. And yeah, like Stacy mentioned, I've been doing leadership development and been involved in this work for a number of years. And also, in the nights and weekends, have enjoyed working part-time at Disneyland as well. Kind of fulfilled a lifelong dream a couple of years ago. And I'm an entertainer in one of the shows there. I won't say what show it is, but maybe by the sound of my voice, you'll be able to recognize which character that I might play. By my face, you might think it was Prince Charming, but that's not what it is. I'll see if you can guess it later. You're welcome to maybe put your guesses in the chat. But excited to be with you today. Today is really all about how can we positively reduce conflict. I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm coming to you live, like I said, from my home office here in Orange County, California. Well, what are some common responses to conflict? So we all deal with conflict a little bit differently out there. It's a reality. So I'd love to hear in the chat, what do you feel like? What are some common responses that you see? Assertiveness has to do with, are you unassertive or are you assertive? In other words, how willing are you to kind of represent your needs in a conflict? Cooperativeness really has to do with how willing are you to consider the other person's needs in a conflict? How do you tend to respond in times of workplace conflict? So we'll put that poll up and just give us your thoughts. Do you tend to find yourself more competing and choosing that response, more collaborating, maybe compromising, maybe avoiding, maybe accommodating? I know for me, it's accommodating. That's what I tend to do. So I'd love to get your thoughts in the polls. What for you tends to be your first response in a conflict situation? This isn't graded. There's no right or wrong necessarily. So please feel free to be honest. Where do you tend to go in conflict? Now we're getting into the realm of thinking about our perceptions. Really, and our principles. So how do we tend to perceive other people, and how do we tend to perceive ourselves and the best response in a conflict situation? So in any conflict situation, if you can articulate what the win is for someone else, it will go a long way towards positively reducing that conflict. Conflict in the workplace is inevitable, right? The question isn't, will you experience conflict, but what will you do when it happens? So my hope is that you think win-win and that you look not only for your own interests, but also for the interests of others. And you reduce that conflict in a positive, constructive, life-giving way. And that your behaviors reflect that and that you get excellent results from that.
Another question is, how do you bring back people who withdraw?
Yeah, how do you bring back people who withdraw? I think it's helpful to realize that withdraw can mean a couple things. One is it could mean that somebody's avoiding the conflict, and it could mean that they're just scared, they don't want to deal with it. But I find that sometimes withdraw also means that they just need time to think about it. So I think that's where you need to discern, right? Is the person withdrawing because there's a lack of trust in that relationship, because there isn't a sense where they feel like their needs are going to be met? Or do they just simply need time to think about it? And so in a situation like that, I might even ask, do you just need time to think about that and then we can talk about it later? My wife and I, we use a concept we call shelving. And sometimes we're in a disagreement and maybe I need time to think about it, or she needs time to think about it, or maybe it's just not the right time to talk about it. And so we'll say, can we just shelve this? And that's us making a commitment to talking about it later, but realizing this isn't necessarily the best time and place. And so that might be something that you want to think about too, is think about, well, maybe this person just needs to shelve it, but we want to commit to when are we actually going to talk about it? And then actually putting a time and a place and a day in the calendar to do that.